Hello. Hi, Alicia.
Hello, Jackie. I'm so
And
excited to be here.
I know this is a very odd time for me to be going live. So anyone that's eating their tea now, you can eat the tea what listening to this. Um, Dinner actually, it's I still say breakfast, dinner, and tea. But anyway, by the by. Um, so yeah, Alicia got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, and then we had a chat last week, and she told me about her awakening, and that was only like 7 years ago. What she's been through since that, I think it could help other people just to know, because there will be a lot of people awakening to, well, awakening to your own self, really, isn't it?
That's exactly it. Yes.
So I said, oh, let's do a live just to introduce you, Alicia Hussey, Awake and Inspired. And gosh, the programs that Alicia, so just in that 7 years, well, if you want to talk about just what you were doing before that, the lead up, and then how that's happened and what it's been like for you since, I think that'd be really good for people just to hear if they're going through anything similar. And as I listened to Alicia the other day, it really brought me in mind to two other people that I know that went through, or even three that went through something so similar. I've put you in touch with one. But yeah, it's fascinating to listen to this. So it might help anyone that's going through this same sort of thing. So yeah, if you'd like to talk a bit about all of that, Alicia.
Yes. Well, yes, only 7 short years ago, actually, during this time right now. So January of 2018. So we were just talking before we went live here too. Yes, I had, now looking back, some other pockets of oh, I call this process awakening. So I had other pockets of, what happens as you're awakening. So usually what's happening, so if anyone's listening here, is, and it comes in like waves, I would say. And for a lot of us now, though, this process is going to come a lot faster and in quicker waves than say what you went through, Jackie, or how you've evolved and awakened to yourself and how I have. It's going to get even quicker now, which is why I think it's so important for us to be talking about this now. Um, so typically what happens in a regular awakening is more of a longer term process. You would go through maybe a dark night of the soul. You would likely have some kind of shift or major change in your relationships, in your career, or, all of those things. So I went through those changes over a decade before my awakening, which was the unraveling of my marriage and the building up and of my digital marketing agency and my role as a speaker and a teacher and a mentor for technology and the internet. Mom of two, raising kids, and all of that kind of had to unravel because that is kind of the marker to, that's the common thread I think we all have. I'm sure you would agree. Um,
Without a doubt, yeah. Yeah, but mine, I think we just had a little chat before we come on, and I took the coastal route to awakening, whereas you've gone full in the steam
yeah,
train.
I jumped over Niagara Falls with like no water wings, and they were like, my guides and my team were like, "Okay, sister, you're live now. Let's go." So yes, so some people, and weird Jack and I were just talking. I don't think that. I think at this point in the world that we're in, the time that we're in right now, there's not going to be an easier route. Okay. It's going to likely be, not likely, I work with a lot of people now. Um, Anyone who's going through any major change, which I don't know if you can live on this planet right now and not have something moving through, whether it's your own shadow work, your own traumas, triggers, emotions, situations, relationships you've been in, career choices. Basically, we are all, as well as the collective, moving through like a tearing down of what is no longer in alignment with yourself.
Yes.
And so that's what I call awakening. And so when it happened to me and others who you've interviewed as well, it happened very fast. And that can be very scary. And there's a lot to learn and know and understand, and you need support.
Without a doubt, yeah. I mean, I just find it fascinating that only said. And what does that even mean when we're saying about being awakened?
Yeah.
Um, what's the difference of before and after? I mean, for me, I broke my leg in 1997 and I was able to watch Oprah Winfrey every day. I loved it.
She's
I
come to
could.
help. This is
And just
Evie.
by watching Oprah Winfrey with the beautiful speakers that she had on, the first day that I watched it, that I was able to, I'd never watched daytime telly before. And that was the only program that was of interest to me at 12 o'clock every day. And the first one was Wayne Dyer. So I had all that build up of a year because then I broke my leg again. So over a year, over 14 months, 12 months, of quite having a broken leg. Anyway, and I was able to watch Oprah for, a lot of that time every day. And so I met a lot of inspirational, positive people. So I thought that was my first awakening to spirituality and
And it was.
yeah, and to understanding about us more, not looking at the distractions of what the TV is showing us.
Yes, yes. So that's the lovely way of experiencing it.
Yes.
And it's not that I haven't had that too. I mean, but specifically what happened to me and probably started in November of 2017. I went from not having any real belief in a higher power. Not that I didn't believe, but it was just not really
Yeah,
important to me. I didn't know what a chakra was. I had one friend who called herself an empath. It wasn't that I didn't believe that people were psychic or had, these abilities. It was almost like it was like there was I just didn't really, I guess I didn't really believe it was true until it started happening to me. And I started over, probably a very short 6 week time period, started to get activated. I call this part the activation. So there's an awakening to the understanding of who you are and and that you are a soul living in a human body. There is an awakening to the fact that the world out there isn't what you think it is.
yes,
That's
yes.
also a very big part of the awakening.
Huge.
It's huge. And that's what the collective is moving through right now,
Yes,
which is why our roles as leaders and spiritual teachers and healers is so incredibly important right now,
yes,
is because of what the world is going through. They're going through the collective dark night of the soul right now.
yeah.
And
And
it's
then you do have to remember that we chose, as a soul, we chose this time and that it's an honor. I know that's a big thing to say, but it's actually an honor to be here at this time, to witness what's going on and to be part of the moving forward into the golden era.
yes, yes, absolutely. And at the time though that I was waking up, I didn't have a you, Jackie.
Yeah.
I wasn't connected with other spiritual teachers. Actually, in 2017 or late 2017, or there weren't really a lot of, I mean, maybe there were, other than people talking about new age spirituality or, I mean, I couldn't find anyone who could really help me with what was happening. And what was happening to me, for me, I call now,
Right, yeah.
was my gifts were being activated. So, within a very short period of time, I was starting to get downloads or channels. I was able to telepathically hear what other people were thinking. That was terrifying. That was awful.
I bet.
I was, synchronistically being placed together with certain people that would teach me or show me a certain thing. I'd never heard of a pendulum before. I met a girl in a Starbucks and I was telling her what was happening to me, all these synchronicities and knowings. And I knew I was communicating with my grandmother, my Baba, I just knew. Dreams were so prophetic and, just coincidences that weren't coincidences. And, just, it was almost euphoric at the beginning, right? But then became very quickly overwhelming. So I'm sitting in the Starbucks and she says, I said, oh, I never heard of a pendulum. She hands it to me. And she says, okay, just ask it to show you your yes. And so everyone who knows me will know that like sort of my pendulum was quite active. This is she has a whole, language of her own. So my pendulum starts doing this in a Starbucks. And I'm like, and I knew I wasn't doing it. So I mean, that was sort of the proof, I guess, and then she said to ask it what your no is, and it starts doing this very clearly. She said she'd never seen anything like it either. And then I'm
Wow.
thinking, am I even safe to do this here? Because I started already receiving the downloads that I wasn't safe to be awakened to all my gifts until now. So I'd already started to kind of understand that this is a delicate topic to talk about, but that there are those, whether they're beings in this dimension or others, that did not want those of us who have come to this place in our work in the world and our evolution. They didn't want us to wake up.
No.
So I had already started to understand that. However, so the pendulum was a really big turning point for me because again, I knew I wasn't doing it. So it became kind of my guide a little bit until I had the discernment myself to know what a yes was, to know that I could confirm that yes, indeed, this was my Baba that I was speaking to. That, before I had the pendulum to kind of give me that, I hadn't learned yet the body pendulum, or, I had no understanding of how to decipher intuition. I had no teacher, right? So
No.
yeah, so it just came on very fast and furious. So another sort of something else to be aware of when you're going through an awakening, or a quickening of your awakening, because it can come in like spurts, right? Um, you'll get things like synchronicities. You'll get things like downloads, think knowings. You'll get body buzzes. You'll get
Yes.
what a lot of people describe as sort of a Kundalini sort of activation, sort of a warmth and a like, it's a full encompassing process. And when it happens over a very small time period, in 3 weeks, I went from not really believing anything, to the sort, to having clear guidance from like my teams about this thing called the Great Awakening that was coming,
Oh,
and
that's
that I,
chills.
yeah, and that I
Even
was,
you just saying that now.
yeah, that's what I was told. That was sort of, and hearing about, what my mission is and what I'm here for. And, going from completely like not bought into that program, just living my life, you know,
Yeah.
to this, and so what happens is you can feel crazy. And there's a lot that's going on if you're doing it over a short period of time. You're going through waves like this, and a lot of people are going through these waves now, okay? And so they're waves of euphoria and understanding and knowing and confirmation and uh just bliss, really thinking about how powerful we really are,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then there's the big crashes, because part of the awakening journey is that shadow work, which people talk about, but we all have a shadow. We all have shadows. We're living through our collective shadows right now. And you know the awakening is being light being shone on those shadows,
Yeah.
whether that's within you or others. I remember the first few things that I awoke to. Now I understand we all have sort of themes. We all have themes of shadows that we work through. So core themes. Mine were a broken heart. So
Mm.
not really being able to feeling like I could trust anyone. Um, and feeling really like I couldn't, trust that real love and connection existed. Also, I was sick with a lot of things most of my life, cystitis, headaches, allergies, all of these are symptoms that, the doctors can't describe, like fibromyalgia and, all those things, very bad menstrual cycles. I was sick, sinus issues. I was sick more than I was healthy, until the awakening started. And once I started to be able to receive information from my higher self and my guides, and I started to understand it, I started to be able to heal myself as well. And that happened fairly quickly. And I would literally get videos popping up on my phone or books reading popping up on my phone, or you should see this person or you need to meet this person. And it was just like, whoa, where's all, and within like 3 to 4 weeks, I was able to understand what dark energy was, what a dark energy attack was. And you know what? The thought of spending 43 years not knowing that a stomach ache out of nowhere or a headache out of nowhere is a dark energy attack and I can literally clear it like that, there was a part of me that was a little pissed off, to be honest. That,
But
that
you
I,
don't hear about those things until you're ready to hear about those things. You
right,
know,
right.
a friend of mine had an encounter with someone and felt that he'd come home with 37 attachments.
Mhm.
I'd not heard of an attachment before. What was that? But
Yeah.
he'd done that with the pendulum to find out how many
Mhm.
and how to clear them.
Yeah.
But you think a lot of people could be walking around with attachments, and when they're bad mood and everything,
I call that bacteria. We all are walking around with attachments because these attachments, oh gosh, there's so much to unpack as far as how to live as the new human, you know? Um, and uh, understanding the dark is a big part of it because if we don't understand the dark, first of all, we cannot shine the light on it and we cannot learn to heal ourselves and to heal others and to be in this world without dark. So we have to learn the dark. And that's the first thing that I think scares everybody
mhm,
is there's a lot of people that just want to be love, light, and unicorns, you know?
yeah,
Um, and it's just not possible. And I think that's what I struggled with most at the beginning.
mhm.
Um, because I want to call, I think I was a little bit of Pollyanna. I didn't want to see, I didn't want to know. And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
a lot of what I had to move through, which ended up into where I ended up in January of the 2018 within 3 months, was despair and grief, you know, and talk about a dark night of the soul, you know, and even my own guilt for, um, not seeing it before or not understanding it before or not wanting to look before. I mean, and when this quickening happens, you're seeing and feeling things on so many different levels. You're seeing, versions of you who have, you know, acted not in the way that they should have. You're seeing your own shadows of guilt and shame and, anger and resentment. And you're literally evolving into another human being.
Mhm.
And those old programs and patterns and beliefs that you had before like are melting away, but it takes the work to do it, right? And you have to learn about energy. You have to understand that you are an energetic vessel. This is what you are. And there are dark entities. There is satanic entities. There are demonic entities, and they've been holding us and keeping us looping in our safe little prisons, for thousands of years.
Yes, yes,
And
but that's what we're waking up to. And so not to put any fear into anyone about that because we're all doing fine.
Mhm.
Um, for me, finding Ho'oponopono was the thing for that. Literally, you're clearing yourself all the time with Ho'oponopono. But yes, I know they still say look at your shadows, and work through that. Would you say that you have to look at your shadows?
Oh, 150%.
See,
Yeah.
with Ho'oponopono, it just clears for the simplest way. That's
Yeah.
the book that I've read.
So, the way I can describe it now, because of course I work with people that are now moving through the awakening process. I
Yeah,
work with, I'm a medium, I'm an energy healer, I'm a channel, I'm an activator. There's lots of things that, lots of roles I play.
yeah.
But now I understand what I went through because I had to learn the process of the transformation. I needed to understand one version of me pre 43 years old, and then the version of me after. And I
Mhm,
needed to actually experience all the steps.
mhm.
Um, so I do believe, Jackie, that we all have our own ability to clear.
Yeah,
So you're working with hope, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I can never say it properly. Um, and we all have ways we do the clearing. We can call it clearing, okay,
Yeah.
of our own shadows and other entities. But it is something very important that I teach. I teach people how to, first of all, trust their own intuition, their own truth through their own body pendulum, through their own the goosebumps that are their yeses or what it feels like. I teach people how to actually discern
Hmm.
their own intuition from what others may be saying or what your mind might be saying or your ego might be saying. So learning about yourself as a human being and the programs and belief systems that you've been raised with, and the one of those belief systems for me was that I get, I was a victim. I was always sick. Why couldn't I just, that's a low vibration way of being in a
Yeah.
victim, you know?
If it
Why
gets
can't
you attention, then you go with it. There's a
exactly.
lot of people that enjoy the attention that illness gives them.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, when I broke my leg, actually, like I'd been back at work probably 3 months, and luckily this woman said to me, "Do you really need to limp, or are you just limping now?" And
Mm.
that is a real, I was a bit offended at the time, but actually I thought about it and I thought, no, I'm protecting the other leg by limping so that
Mhm.
I'm not putting the pressure on because of what I've been through. But actually, you need to have it shown to you sometimes. I didn't need to limp. I
Mhm.
could walk properly,
Yeah.
because they'd made it strong enough that I was, anyway, yeah. So
Yeah.
some
So
people thrive on the victim
they
thing
don't, but
because,
they don't know they are. And
no,
I also know that all the things that we've gone through or done in our lives, as far as work, good things too. I don't mean all the negative. All the things that we've brought forward into, your journey of awakening or activation, if you'd like to call it that. There's lots of different ways to call it. But it's like those have been the learning. That's been the earth school. That's been the lessons. And then even the darkness is also part of the lesson, because how would we know? How would I know that, I used to walk around with, a Gravol or Advil cold and sinus for any time I'd get a headache, or I had a fear of throwing up. So the dark ones use that against me. So I, would always be sort of in fear when my stomach, got upset. And until I learned that I could actually identify what it is and tell it to bugger off and go to source, and that the headache or the stomach ache would just disappear. I mean, that's
mm,
crazy. It's
yeah,
mind blowing, really, right? We're able to heal pain. We're able to heal, fatigue. We're we're able to, I mean, it's just mind blowing what we can do.
our thoughts create our reality, and until you really believe that and know that to be true,
Yeah.
because you think, if my thoughts created this, would I really have created this? But actually, because you've been unconscious to what you're creating, you've no idea. But once you become aware of what your thoughts are, and you're turning mostly the negatives to the positives as much as possible, and it gets very easy over time, because the more, and again, that's what you read, what you watch, what you eat, becoming aware of your life, isn't it?
Mhm. And back to your question earlier about, is shadow work necessary? It is, because you don't have to call it shadow work. You could call it being aware, that you are feeling fear a lot, or being aware, consciously aware, of, even an emotion like anger.
Yeah.
And
Which
this
is
is
a
what
good emotion,
it is.
but
Yeah.
we say it's not.
If there's anger, it means that there is something coming up that needs to be transmuted. There's something
Yes.
that you're still carrying in your bodies and fields. And that's the other thing we all need to learn is these emotions, shame, guilt, fear, all the things, they have an energy, they're a vibration. I always recommend Dr. R. Hawkins' work. So his book, Letting Go, and the Map of Consciousness, because it's a great way for us to understand that we are all energy. And if we're sort of vibrating in those emotions, we're vibrating down here. And so the shadow work is really understanding, wait a minute, okay, what am I feeling right now? Is this okay? Okay, I'm frustrated. All right, why am I frustrated? Because that's not a great emotion. That's not a higher vibration emotion. So, but really getting the shadow work is really getting honest with yourself. Why am I frustrated? Where am I feeling the frustration in my body? Our bodies are also amazing. The way that they can tell us where we're storing stuck energy in our chakras and the different
Yeah,
places in our body. It's like the most beautiful map you could ever have.
absolutely.
Your body will tell you where you're storing stuck low density emotions. And so taking the time to be like, okay, where's this frustration coming from? Where do I feel it in my body? Oh, okay, I'm feeling it right here in my, solar plexus area. Well, what's the solar plexus? That's your power center. Okay, so what's actually impacting my power center that's leading me to have this low vibrational frustration? Thank you, frustration, for letting me know you're still here. Thank you, body, for telling me, that sort of undercurrent sort of stress we all carry. Start digging. What is that stress telling you? What do you need to release? Are there cords of attachment with people? Is this power center being affected by someone, in your family or someone you work with, and is it serving you?
Yeah,
Right? So that one emotion can lead you down just this beautiful path. And once you learn how to do it, and this is the work. This is what we're supposed to be teaching us spiritual leaders and us, you know, we're not here to predict the future. We're here to manipulate the future by healing the current moment and the now
healing.
moment and healing
Yeah,
ourselves
yes,
because
healing.
that's what shifts our future into the highest potential timeline. If I'm no longer carrying that frustration, if I have been kind to myself because maybe I was frustrated with myself, right? Maybe the
Yes,
emotion had nothing to do with someone else. Maybe it was me. And maybe I felt like I wasn't moving fast enough. Or I
yes.
should have done this before. Or I should have left that relationship before. Or I should have, I should have. That's still a shadow emotion. That's still a low vibration that I'm feeling then now on a regular basis. And my body is reacting to it because my body's trying to tell me, danger, danger. This is a low vibration emotion. So once you can understand that, and you can actually use tools like your body pendulum, your truth testing, your pendulum, your muscle testing to say, hey, what's really going on here with me? So this is the process. And I had to learn all of that because when I was awakening, I didn't have teachers to teach me this. I didn't have anyone to tell me, oh, you're just going through an awakening. Don't worry about it. Like I, you know, and so it all kind of bubbles up. All the things that, the new you, the future you
Yeah.
wants you to wants you to heal and wants you to look at, it all comes up through the awakening process.
I'm
And that's
just
why,
going to look for Jerry and Esther Hicks, their emotion scale,
Mhm.
because as we're talking about this, this is really Jerry and Esther. Um, this is very important for people to understand. You cannot go from, like, we couldn't speak to somebody that's in depression and say you want to find your joy because that's too
Oh,
much of a jump.
yeah. And it's not actually, so the important part of the whole process is transmuting it. So you can't transmute something or change it or alchemize it if you don't understand where it's coming from. You
Exactly.
you need to track the source. And you know, we humans, we've not been educated, to do this. We haven't been educated. I had no idea about my chakras, my energy centers. I had no idea that I was an energetic being. I had no idea about any of this
Yes.
until I had to learn it, right? And so the process of actually healing myself. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I'm just going to show that because the very bottom of the scale is fear, grief, depression, despair, and powerlessness. And when you are in those, you cannot see a way out at the moment. But if you can even get to feeling jealous, you're getting on a better scale.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you can think, oh, I could, try and get to hate, revenge, anger. that's all good because you're moving up the scale, but you could never possibly say to somebody that's in despair, you want to find your joy, your appreciation, your empowerment, and your freedom. You
No.
literally have to go through all of those. Well, I don't say you have to go through all of them, but you know, it's small steps
Yeah,
because
and
we've all been there.
they call this the work, right? Do your work. What's the work? This is it. You have to be honest. You have to see your mirrored reflection. What is this jealousy really about?
Yes.
Is this jealousy because, I feel shameful or guilty that I couldn't do it, or, where is this coming from? And if you still have, and you got to get honest with yourself, and this is why you really have to kind of, learn how to connect with your higher self, your soul, your unconscious, because your body, your unconscious, your soul, your guides, they're not going to lie to you. And, looking in the mirror is not easy sometimes. But once you get used to the process of doing it, it's so empowering because with those low vibration emotions like jealousy and anger and, regret and guilt, first of all, everything's just energy. So is that anger really doing anything for you? Is it serving you? Is it serving the other person? No. Okay, so step number one, it's not serving me. Okay. Number two, why is it here? So, this is where the work comes in. This is where, you need to work with an energy healer or someone who can help you tap in until you can do it yourself, right? Because I believe that we're all meant to learn to do this work ourselves. But until then, you may need someone like me to say, okay, I see, a 5-year-old version of you. What was happening at 5? You know?
Yes.
And I'm able to actually see and feel what's happening to that 5-year-old version. There may be something from a past life that is impacting you and that you're still carrying in your bodies and fields. All of us are also carrying ancestral
Oh,
stuck emotions,
absolutely.
walls, mounds, traumas, patterns. So the work is really to learn what you're actually presenting with. It's not just anger, it's not just guilt. Where is it coming from? And it's usually tied to your core traumas. And your higher self is, they're not going to intervene. We live on a free will planet, It's up to us
Mhm.
to figure out how to transmute, alchemize, heal ourselves, you know,
And there's so
vibrate
much
more.
help available as well now.
There is.
And once you know what you're looking for, what I would like to say about anger as well, or any of those emotions, I guess, but anger, is if you feel that it's a bad emotion to have, so you push it down, and that's where dis-ease comes from. That's
Yes.
where disease comes from in your body because you're neglecting. It's not a bad emotion, not to feel shameful about it. Also, if you're watching TV and there's something violent or horrible on that you're not really, well, you're obviously watching it for a reason. But if you're eating while you're watching that, you're eating that
Mhm.
horribleness, Yeah. So to become aware of everything, isn't it?
There's just so many truths that we need to awaken to. We need to awaken to how our words are spells. We need
Yes,
to,
absolutely.
we need to realize that the things we tell ourselves or tell others, even if it's not verbalized, that also is a spell. You can, just by thinking
Oh,
something,
yeah.
you know, um, that we're that powerful.
Well, I did a talk with Bill Tucker the other day because so many were saying about how ill they were.
Mm.
And so then when I started talking to him and I said, "Oh, my friend said she's coming down with this." Well, there's a perfect word spell. You're coming down with
Mhm.
something. So you've told your body you're coming down, you're going down. So you've got to be going up.
Yeah.
Like turn it around and just think about the way you're describing something about yourself in
Mhm.
the most positive way that you can. It
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of work, but the more you do this, the easier it becomes.
As soon as you break through and you trust your own intuition, which is where I always focus with my clients or if I can empower people like I was empowered over that very short period of time. And although it was terrifying and, very scary time to live through, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like trial by fire, I had to learn fast, they kept telling me there's a great awakening coming. I thought everybody else was waking up at the same time. I thought everyone else was getting the same memo.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a great awakening coming. Yeah, yeah, there's a great awakening. No one really got the memo. Yeah. So the other part of awakening, so beyond um, learning about yourself as energy and frequency and how to heal and raise your own vibration and shift your own reality, because we can all do it, heal yourself, all the things. Um, it's also this awakening to what the world really is and what the world really has been for
Yes.
thousands of years. And this
Yes.
is another, the third sort of prong to the awakening process that is quite terrifying, to be honest, for people like me anyway, that didn't really want to see this,
Yes.
you know?
Definitely. I had
Yeah.
a speaker coming once. I was so excited about her coming. For some reason, I felt it was a very good speaker that, and I'd never had a conspiracy talk before. And I had over 40 odd people come. Oh my goodness. I was in fear listening to her. I'd never heard a talk like it. I came away, I was ill for 2 weeks afterwards. I felt so bad because I don't know what it did to me. But the two girls that were in the car with me that night said it was the best talk I'd ever put on.
Wow. Yeah.
Perception,
Yeah.
because they already had an idea of what the world's about. And I
Yes.
didn't want to know what the world was about.
Yes. Bingo. And
Yes,
that's where I was when I was
yes,
because my guides, my higher self, were starting to tell me all these things. And they were all telling me truths that I didn't want to hear, and that were, first of all, I didn't want to hear. Secondly, I didn't want to believe. Thirdly, I couldn't prove. So in 2018, 2017, 2018, I mean, I'd never heard of, I bought the t-shirt on the whole other narrative, right? Like I'd never heard of, you know, I never heard of conspiracy theories or, the shadow government, whatever, whatever. I hadn't heard of, I mean, we could go on and on and on. There are a lot of things that we don't need
absolutely.
to talk about in today,
No,
but there were a lot of truths of the world that I had to look at.
yeah,
And that's again what we're dealing with now as a collective.
yes,
We are being shown, whether we want to look at it or not, whether we want to go back to the old, watch the news, believe the programming, believe what we've been taught, or learn to trust ourselves and discern the real truth.
yes,
Not about listening to, sorry, astrologers or other spiritual teachers. It's about you learning your truth.
yes, exactly.
What is your truth? What do how
If
do
it
you feel?
resonates for you,
Right. And
yes.
that's what we have to learn as human beings. We
And then
have,
trusting that.
yes. So, gosh, when I learned that, I mean, I tell you, fear's gone. You don't have it anymore,
No.
And that's my goal when I work with all of the people I work with is if I can show you how to not be in fear of what you don't know,
Mhm.
be in fear of the outside world or what's happening, be in fear of your own health. If I can teach you how to not be in fear because you have the answers and you can check the truth and you have the abilities to transmute and you have the abilities to really know, that's everything.
Everything.
That's it. That's it. That's everything. So to be honest with you, once I kind of figured that out after a year of crying and sleeping in 2018, yeah, I laugh about it now, but
I know, but at the time, yeah.
no, and I've gone through another similar, like it wasn't nearly as long, but another sort of month and a half process of another layer coming out. And I've got to be honest, I was vibrating, I was crying. This was just, at the end of 2024. I'd gone years without being sick or feeling low or feeling, you know, um, all and all of a sudden it just came on at the, November of 2024 again. And, there's a part of you that says, oh no, are we going backwards? Has
Yeah.
this all been some cruel, like, like, is this not really happening? Are we really not waking up as a collective? Like, is this,
Yes.
and so So now I see that it's just that process right there, which a lot of you who are watching right now may be going through. You
So
may be
I
going,
need to just tell you something now then, Alicia. In November, my a really good friend of mine, she had a very similar awakening to you 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, where her higher self stepped in. She didn't know what happened to her. She lost all her memory for a year and actually didn't really recover for 2 years properly. Um,
wow.
but realized I put a psychic supper on, and probably about 2 years ago, a face reader was at the psychic supper, and so my friend went in and saw the face reader, which was a very odd thing. So she had us holding a piece of paper like that, where she just saw the top of, and straight away she looked at my friend's eyes and said, "You know you're a walk-in, don't you?" And she didn't know she was a walk-in, but she said of her higher self.
Yeah.
And that's why she's so intuitive now and she can intuit things. But in
That's exactly what
November,
happened to me. That's exactly what happened to me.
so in November of last year, funny enough, we had a girl come over from Canada, a lovely girl, Claire. I've got her card here, Claire Nagel, calming angel. And she said, could she meet up with us? Isn't that funny? 3 people from Canada, you, this other girl today, and that girl, Claire. But anyway, she came over and met us. Um, But when we went to, I put on a little event in a hall and she met all the community people and that. It was lovely, really nice evening. But my friend who'd had that walk in 7 or 8 years ago, um, she was going through a really bad time again. And then she found out from somebody that helped her that it was an AI
Oh,
octopus.
yeah, yep.
An AI octopus was coming up her legs because
Yep.
she'd lost the feeling in her legs.
Yep.
And then she had to have some sort of ceremony to
Mhm.
get rid of it. And so
Yep.
she went through a very bad month. How funny that that was you as well in
Yep.
November.
And a lot of other people. I work with a lot of other, I do a lot of group, weekly group evolve calls, I call them, where we come on and kind of talk about what's happening right now. And I do some healing. I answer specific questions. But during the month of November and even into December, I wasn't the only one that was going through this. I was
No.
actually, I channeled that what they were actually calling it was dark storm energy.
Oh, wow.
And so, because leading up to 2025, where we're all going to really kind of come into our own, and this is where the real work starts, right? But this dark storm energy was really kind of pulling. So if you had any shadows left, if you had, I've been doing this work every day for 7 years. So that's a lot of clearing. That's a lot of, being aware and
Yeah,
clearing,
yeah.
not just myself, but, ancestors, others in my soul family. Like it's just a lot, right? Um, but there was more. And so the dark storm energy, because it's kind of fighting for its place to stay, right? With all this light streaming in and, all the things that are happening right now. So a lot of people were affected, and our higher selves let it happen again because there was more to purge.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's
So
finding out how to purge it.
yeah,
You
yes.
went
Well,
to 3 different people to get help.
right. And so that's what's really important too. The other thing we need to talk about is who to trust and how,
Yes,
because there are a lot of, and I don't really believe that they mean to be, doing this work, not in the way that they should be. But the healer must be healed.
yes,
So if, a healer doesn't have integrity with their energetic hygiene, if they are not doing the work themselves at the same time, um, you know, you just have to be very careful. And this is why I teach everybody, and I hope to leave this with everybody who's listening today. The most important skill you can have is that trust, is that discernment and that proof that you're connected to your own intuition. Because you can ask, is Alicia the right person to help me? You can ask
yes,
and you'll get an answer. So you have to learn. And that's, again, if I can teach you anything, if I can share anything with your audience, that is the place to start every single
yes,
time. No matter if you think you're going through an awakening or not, you need to understand what your truth is and how to test it. And I
yes,
talk about testing all the time because, you know, energy. I mean, goodness. I mean, we're really going through a transmuting time right now, and there is a lot of dark energy floating around, and they're really holding their ground because they don't want us to rise. They don't want us to remember who we are. They don't
Yeah.
want people like me out here telling you, yeah, those chronic headaches, you can heal them. They
Yes.
don't want people like me saying, you can actually check in with your higher self to see if I should take that medication or trust that person or leave my job right now. Or, once you connect with your higher self and you know without a doubt that you have that connection,
Mm.
whether it's through tools like pendulums, but, I say the body never lies.
Yes.
So the biggest thing that you can do right now, if I could leave, advice for all of you who are listening right now, is figure that out, And so I teach people, right, I'll do it right now. I can teach, your audience exactly how to do it, but you
Right.
literally you tune into your heart.
Yeah.
So you can close your eyes or keep them open. You can be standing or sitting. And then you're going to use your breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you're going to really clear your heart space out. So if it feels a little bit tight, it's probably because there's energy in there that needs to be released. So then you want to just think about releasing anything like fear or anything like resistance that might be there, because your heart is the most important energy center you have. And then what you want to do is just almost use your breath and your intention. Imagine traveling up what I call a little light elevator, all the way up, send it all the way up. And then just to trust that it's going to connect with your higher self, your soul, God, source. And then what you're going to do is once you've kind of made that connection, whether you're aware of it or not, just trust that you have. Bring that energy, welcoming that higher version of you down through the elevator back into your heart. Breathe again. And when you do that, you will usually even feel your body shift a little bit as you've invited in that higher version of you or other version of you. We don't even have to say it's a higher version, it's an other version of you. And then you're going to ask your body now, you're going to let your body, you're going to say to your body, thank you. Thank you for always showing me. I'm sorry I haven't listened till now. I like to talk to my body a little bit sometimes. Or I'm sorry I wasn't listening yesterday. And then you're going to ask your body to show you, or your higher self to show you, using your body, what your clear yes is. If you're sitting down, your clear yes could be a movement. So when I'm sitting down, my yes is a back and forth movement. It could be a goosebump. It could be, for those of you who are have clear sight, you could see a yes in your mind. It could be just a cognitive feeling of what yes feels like. Okay, but for me, I like my body to show me in a movement. Okay, and when you're standing, your body's going to move one way.
I
Okay,
mean,
so
my yes is forward and my no is back. I know that because I've done it so often.
yeah, but sometimes it's different when you're sitting. So for anyone who is, and I would recommend you try it both ways because my yes and no is different when I'm sitting,
Really?
yeah, compared to when I'm standing.
Okay.
Yeah. And other things like Jackie, you always talk about your goosebumps. Those are a clear yes.
Yes.
That's a razor focused, yeah, that's a yes, or that's a truth. Okay. So you can also trust that. But I found, you know, early on, once I figured out that my pendulum was really pretty clearly showing me what yeses and what nos were and what keep going. This is keep going for my pendulum counterclockwise, which means it's not a clear yes or not a clear no. All of a sudden, I understood that I was fully supported, 100% of the time, and that I could find that truth all the time.
Mhm.
And once I learned to trust that, and again, this is why I focus on this with everyone I work with, the most important thing you can do is learn that truth testing.
That is brilliant. Thank you for showing us that. It's so
Yeah,
simple, isn't it?
it is. It's
That's
very simple.
even in the shop if you're thinking, do I need to buy that or not? Food wise,
Yeah.
anything, and ask your body and it knows. Your body always knows the answer.
I remember I was testing it on early on, and at the time too, I came off of taking so many medications. Like, I was, on so many sort of pharmaceuticals because I was so sick for so long. And so I remember I was starting to test, I was starting to test what dark energy felt like, and learning how to remove it and asking, is this dark energy? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. Now I know. All right. Now I have the empowerment to say, okay, I know you. I know you're here. I know you're causing my stomach to hurt. Thanks for letting me know you're here. Okay. But I don't consent anymore. And I break
Right.
all contracts and agreements, and I command you leave my body now.
Oh
And
my
once I
God.
learned to do that, you try that process, you can confirm it with your truth testing. Then instead of being afraid of it or resisting it or going, oh, no, 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 that's not real, move through it. Okay, headache. Thank you, body. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that I'm not in alignment or there's an entity attachment, that there's something here. Check it. But don't be afraid. We all have them. They're like bacteria, I say. And then just simply say, okay, I know you're here now. Thank you for showing me. Thank you, stomach. Thank you, headache. Thank you, backache. I thank you, body, for letting me know. And then a very simple, okay, now I don't consent. So I feel you, I see you, I know what you're doing, and I don't consent anymore. And I command you leave my body now and return to source. It is done. And you will find the headache will go away. The stomach ache will go away. The random pain that shows up will go away. And
Why do we
early
get
on,
these attachments? Why? Why?
because we're okay, so that's a good question. So, wow, it's loaded, but I'm going to try to keep it simple. So, we have been the dark beings, which are just beings without the light. Okay. So, if we can actually almost make them not scary as well, right? We've been conditioned to believe that they are. And yes, they can do some pretty nefarious things.
Playing
But
their role. We're all playing a
they
role
are,
that we've
exactly.
come here to play.
Yeah. And if I needed to learn how to be in my power and how to heal myself, I would have to learn about the dark.
Ah,
So, and the dark ones feed off of our low vibrations. They feed off of and it's not just us in our physical, this lifetime, but we're carrying stuck trauma, stuck patterns,
from
miasms,
ancestors.
contracts, agreements, all these things from living in that 3D world for thousands of years that need to be transmuted in this lifetime, right now.
Yes.
And so the dark ones have a big role right now because we can't ascend, we can't step into our light bodies and finally get rid of all the things we've been carrying around in our backpacks unless they show us they're here.
Hmm.
How would we know?
Hmm.
How would I know I made an agreement to a satanic being when I was 2 because I could see and I didn't want to see because it was scary?
Mm.
So I made an agreement with a satanic being to close my third eye. How would I know?
Okay. Yes.
Unless it told me it's still here,
Yes.
right? By appearing in, in an illness or in a pain or in an emotion or in a relationship pattern. I mean, and so that's the simple way of describing the role of the dark. But we are moving to a place, many call it New Earth, where we're going to be vibrating higher, and the Earth herself is vibrating higher, and there's not going to be any room for those lower vibrational beings anymore. So this is just the process we have to move through. And with it, we are learning to alchemize. We're learning or remembering that we are energetic beings.
It's perfect. Really, again, that's all come back. I think this entire talk has all come around our awareness and how important it is to learn about ourselves. We had at the psychic, I go to a spiritual church most Friday nights, and about 4 weeks ago, we had a lovely chap come along. And the first question he said is, "Who are you? How do you know yourself?" It was really good questions. And that's what this is all about. We're becoming aware of ourselves, and that's not selfish. That is actually good care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I always say too, If you can learn to take care of yourself first and you can raise your vibration and you can be in joy and love and forgiveness, you're literally raising up all of those around you automatically, just by default.
Absolutely.
So the process, if you are, those of you who are watching, if you are going through, if any of this sounds kind of like, oh my goodness, all right, I'm going through this, or I've been through this, or this sounds really familiar, is this what's happening to me? Use your body pendulum and ask. You're being invited to rise up. You're being invited to remember who you really are. And, we all have these abilities and we're being activated at this time. This is it. This is the time we've all been waiting for, you know?
That's what Alicia said. Yeah. Say, I no longer consent. I ask you to leave now.
Just go because they don't get to stay attached to you. So, not to say, I'm not going to oversimplify it though, you got to have the right person to help you with energetic attachments.
Mhm.
It can be very serious business.
Mm.
And so it's not something to take lightly. And I'm not trying to make it sound like it's just easy, but it is.
Yeah,
And your higher self will support you. That's why your truth testing is so important. Do I need somebody else to help me with this? Yes or no? That's the question. Is this person the right person to help me with? You got
brilliant.
to learn to ask the questions.
So we're
That's
almost at an hour, and really an hour is more than enough for anybody to, I think, so we'll be rounding up now. If anyone wanted to get in touch with you, Alicia, what's the best way?
I am Awake and Inspired Alicia on Instagram. My website is awake and inspired.com. I also have a Facebook group, Awake and Inspired Alicia, and I'm on Facebook as well, under
Brilliant.
Alicia Hussey.
Yes.
Yes, and thank you for having me, Jackie. This has been lovely.
Honestly, thank you. I think it's, a very good thing that, because there is a lot of people awakening still to this and will be continuing to, and we're all here to help each other now.
Yes.
I think we know that more than ever. So very grateful for all the information tonight, all the wisdom, and really you've done an incredible job in such a short time of your awakening. Really you have. As I say, I've just cruised along on the coastal route.
Oh, yes, but I couldn't be more grateful to you. You were one of the first people. I know you said you just kind of came online in 2020, but you know, um, it was so helpful to have all of
Thank
you who were showing up and talking about this in those early days. It really gave me the momentum I needed to, I mean, I completely abandoned my whole other life and career to start to do this professionally in 2021. So if it weren't for people like you, Jackie, who were talking about all of this, I could have felt crazy. I could have felt like, oh no, I just need to go back and do marketing again. And,
I'll
um,
just say quickly, because when I said to you about my friend in the AI octopus, and you just, that's a normal conversation. Whereas when I first heard it, I was, what? Yeah, yes.
yes,
It just helps us wake up to all what there is, and there's so much.
yes. And not to be afraid of it, not to be
Exactly.
afraid. Yeah, let's be
Live in
inspired.
love as much as you can. Love, love. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, anyone that's watching.
Thanks for
And
being
yes, shoot, lots of love.